Welcome to Entrepreneurs Are Leaders, and today we have with us a special guest, Robert, someone that is leading a social enterprise to use coffee as vehicle to keeping us together. So Robert, tell us, what are the 5 steps to build a social enterprise?
Welcome to Entrepreneurs Are Leaders podcast with Harry Sardinas. Interviews with world's most influential entrepreneurs that share tips about how to grow your business exponentially. Charismatic speaking, leadership, branding, marketing strategies designed to help you monetize your knowledge, find true happiness, and manifest your goals and dreams.
So thank you for having me, Harry. It's nice to finally meet you almost digitally face to face, huh? So there's the traditional 5 steps, right? You have to set goals. You have to have an action plan. You need to be resilient. You need to make sure that you learn from your failures and that you're adaptable and stay positive. And pretty much all the steps have some mixture of that. There's a funny quote from Denzel Washington that says, "When we fail to plan, we plan to fail," right? And so obviously these traditional steps are really about goals and planning and adapting and all of that. But I think there's even something before the setting the goals, which is very important. It leads into the question about social impact and social enterprise. What kind of goals do you set? This is really the most powerful question, because if you have goals and you start doing all these other things, it can take you anywhere and everywhere, and goodness knows where you end up. So before you set a goal, you should really be in what I call alignment, right? And alignment is when your sense of passion and your purpose are in alignment, because it is very difficult, prior to running a social enterprise and with my team. It's, often the goal is, I want to make a lot of money. And okay, what does it mean to make a lot of money? Then I need to go to university, and then I need to get a job. And all these things are very fine. And entrepreneurs and career people follow these traditional telltale steps. But guess what happens? They find 5 years or 10 years in that they're unhappy, that they're divorced, that there's no joy, that there's no purpose. Maybe there's money in the account, but so it's really bad if you worked all this time, your kids don't see you, your wife has left you, and you have no money. So hopefully at least they got a little bit of money. But it's got to be more than that. And it really comes down to the sense of alignment, where you should be spiritually aligned, recognizing that there's a higher purpose and a higher power to why we all exist. Is it accident that you are hundreds and thousands of miles from me, and here we are meeting on this platform? Is that an accident? I don't think so. This is a series of tiny little movements, tiny little things that gravitated and navigated us to be in this moment, right? So before we start setting goals, we have to connect to the universe to figure out what our purpose is, right? And so you've got what I like, that alignment starts with that spirituality. Then you've got the head. You have to be able to think. You have to be able to analyze. You have to be able to strategize, right? Then you've got the heart. You have to create empathy. You have to understand the other person. You have to try to figure out how to be kind and how to be good. And then you've got the hands. You got to put in the work. You got to toil the fields, right? And so this kind of alignment is very important, because it'll help you determine what kinds of goals you actually want to set before you start doing the action plan and being resilient and adaptation and all of those sorts of things.
Yeah. So then, Robert, tell us what makes you to build this social enterprise, to create that coffee as vehicle for us be more together. So what drives you? Before we talk about, you represent some of your pros, a lot of coffee from Africa, right? Which I found it fantastic, because if you bring this product to a marketplace, anybody that buys your coffee actually is supporting Africa, actually is supporting this farmer back in the village. A lot of challenges that we see with Africa is that the investor goes there and, they take all the resources, they take all the mineral, they also bring their own workers, and sometimes they even bring their own water. So that doesn't generate job in the community. That doesn't generate any outcome, and this is not sustainable growth. Whether the way that you're doing it is fantastic, because you bring the product to a marketplace, but the farmer gets anybody who's buying, like I said, the product in Dubai or Europe or whatever, they're supporting this farmer, this small agriculture that is there. So where do you get this sense of purpose and social responsibility by conducting this business?
Yeah, thanks, Harry. The question, I think, let me start with the personal experience, right? When I was in graduate school, I was fortunate to receive a fellowship from Johns Hopkins School of Advanced International Studies from this entrepreneur named Jim Rogers. And Jim Rogers was this huge hedge fund guy. And we were talking about why I was studying in graduate school. And I said, I'm going to go to Europe, and I want to do all of these great buy businesses and help modernize Poland and Europe. And he's the one that suggested that I look at Africa. And I received a fellowship to go to Africa. And so I traveled through Africa for almost a year. And what I saw was unbelievable. I would go into these villages, and sometimes I literally just have a backpack. I would go into a village, running water, there are no street lights, and I would literally walk and knock on a door that had a candle in the window, or a couple of gentlemen sitting outside, and I would say hello, and their English was not so good, and my native language, the tongue of the villager, I didn't speak, but we worked it out, and I asked for a place to stay, and sometimes they would just offer me their floor, and sometimes that floor was a dirt floor, or sometimes it was a slab of wood or something. So we're talking about the late 1980s, early 90s. But what I saw as I went through my travels to better understand the economy, to understand the international trade issues, understand sort of why is this country that's so rich in everything, beautiful people, wonderfully nice people, all these resources, why is it so poor? Because I'm reading the books in school in the hallowed halls in Washington, D.C., but I wanted to try to make sense of what was going on. And a whole lot of things were going on, from colonialism to exploitation to lack of sustainability, as you mentioned. So I'm putting all these things together, and now I'm in these villages and in these towns. And I made a promise to myself. One day, I'm going to be able to come back here in some meaningful way and make a difference. And that day didn't happen 10, 20, 30. It was 30 plus years later before I actually started a social enterprise with the focus on that.
Wow, this is a beautiful story, Robert, and I'm very proud of you, because at the end of the day, it's us, the entrepreneurs, what is going to drive change. And, if we can get more done as an entrepreneur, honestly, like as a politician, somebody said that, a road linked into two countries is even more important than 100 policies. So it's us to start the conversation about fair trade, about inclusion, about social responsibility, because in the end of the day, we all live in the same house, in the same planet. We live in the society. Everybody wants to get more for themselves, but we share a common home, and that common home, we have to share and be fair in the resources, because the story that I'm just sharing with you, and this is unfortunately happening in Africa right now as we speak, There are some investments there that, okay, they want a mineral and they go in there to extract them certain mineral to a certain African country. But hey, you go in there with even with your own water, you won't be able to buy a bottle of water for the local guy in the village that sells that water. So you literally go in there to extract everything and leave zero behind. And what kind, and that seems fair to you. So and obviously, the sometimes government have to take the decision because they do need the funds to I don't know, to provide other services. But is let's be more conscious. Okay, we need to bring money and investment for Africa, but how this money is coming. Is it coming in a way that it will create jobs and empower the community where these minerals or assets are getting extracted, or if it's gonna be just I'm taking everything and going to my country and I don't care about that community, I don't care about anyone there because it doesn't seem sustainable to me. It seems that
what you say makes
is not fair, right?
What you say makes a lot of sense, Harry. But I think we have to ask some hard questions. So to your point about entrepreneurs versus politicians, there are, generally speaking, two types of entrepreneurs. There's the entrepreneur who must work on their own because they don't know how to work in a corporate setting. And then there are entrepreneurs who could be successful in a corporate setting. They're just better at building teams, and they have vision and they have passion about what they want to do. That first entrepreneur is not the kind of entrepreneur that I want to work with, because what you find is that even if you're an entrepreneur, if you don't know how to build teams, if you don't know how to build collaboration, if you don't know how to talk to politicians to get things done, if you don't know how the world really works and think just by yourself, by brute force, you can get it done, it is going to be very difficult to be successful and have major impact. So I like entrepreneurs who understand the rules of the game and decide they want to change them, but they recognize that they need support from others to do so. So there are a lot of entrepreneurs out there who are failed businessmen or failed teammates or failed employees. So they go out on their own. And guess what? They more often do than not. They fail then too, right? Mm-hmm. So I think it's very important to recognize that there are good entrepreneurs, and all of them, and just like and bad entrepreneurs, just like there are good politicians and bad politicians. Mm-hmm. So I think we have to be careful that we don't lump both into one versus the other. The other thing that you talk about, though, a kind of another hard assessment, is this issue around colonialism and the sins of our fathers and why are we happening now. And yes, 40, 50, 60, hundreds of years ago, and talking, I'm in the coffee business. So I spent a lot of time thinking about commodities and whatnot. There's something called the coffee belt. And Italy doesn't grow coffee beans, and Switzerland doesn't grow cocoa beans. But everyone has heard of Italian coffee for hundreds of years. Where did they get the coffee beans? They got it from Africa. Everyone's heard of Swiss Miss and Swiss chocolate, but where did Switzerland get the cocoa beans? Switzerland got them from Ghana and the Ivory Coast for hundreds of years. So This game of mining and extracting commodities
it's been going long.
It's been hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years old.
Going on.
And so, exactly. So now you have to say, well, wait a minute. We know the playbook. We know why that happened. And there are some reasons why that happened. And it didn't have international trade routes. They had the money. We didn't have access to capital, all of this. So there is no excuse today, given how old that playbook is, that you should have exploitive, extractive, non-partnership building opportunities happening in any society anywhere in the world.
It's unacceptable. But
so
it's still
why does it happen? So why does it happen?
Exactly. And then so what message do you have, Robert, for people that want to do business in Africa?
Well, I like to say, try to do business in Africa. So My partners and I, Dikembe, Veronica Dallin, and I, when we started Mutombo Coffee, it was right before COVID. And so it's tough doing business in Africa in the best of times. So then it's now try doing business, starting a business during COVID. Then, so now everything is shutting down. Then, unfortunately, my partner got ill a couple of years ago. So then we had Africa, COVID, and cancer trying to do business in Africa. So we talked about kind of the 5 steps, one of them being having a plan and the resiliency. The plan that we thought we had went out the door, right? Because the whole world shut down. And so we had to build a business from scratch. And you know, again, there were no accidents, right? So we didn't have the luxury of taking our time. We had to right out of the gate figure out some very difficult challenges that the whole world was going through. And guess what it did in 4 years? It made us smarter, it made us stronger, it made us better. And so in a perverse way, we are better having started the business in such a tough environment because we had to lock in very quickly, right? So some advice that I would give to any entrepreneur or an entrepreneur going to Africa or wherever, you know, Mike Tyson has a saying, right? Everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the face. Entrepreneurs know this saying very, very well. Everyone's got a plan and a business plan and financial projections in 3 years, 4 years, and 5 years, and this and client acquisition and all of that until the market punches them in the face. And we've been punched in the face a lot. And then you learn how to bob and weave and you do the rope-a-dope and you figure out ways to sort of move forward.
You're still on.
Yeah. So I think the first advice, whether it's Africa or as an entrepreneur, is expect there to be a shock. Expect something. You may not know what it's going to be. We couldn't predict COVID. We don't know if it's going to be recession in the US or whatever next year. Just expect in your business, there's going to be shocks. And you have to build in emotional shock absorbers. That's what resiliency is. Sometimes you have to have financial shock absorbers so you don't spend all your cash. Sometimes you have to have emotional shock absorbers where maybe it's not the time to try to do 3 or 4 other things and also focus on the business. So you have to be emotionally equipped because there's always going to be surprises. And so that's the biggest thing, is that you have to go in being prepared for whatever it takes to continue to move forward.
Okay, Robert, so if somebody is in love about our conversation about social enterprise and they want to contribute to your journey, how they can find you, how this process works?
Yeah, so I've done a couple of things. One, for your readers, we created a code, Harry15. Let me double check that. I think it's so that, Harry15. So any of your listeners that go to mutombocoffee.com, www.mutombocoffee.com, and when they put something in their basket, if they put in Harry15, they're all going to get a discount. And I'm going to put a special gift in it because of you to say how much we love what you're doing and how we want to support them. So go to mutombocoffee.com, put in Harry15, and we will see it. And that'll help you directly just purchase great coffee. We talked about coffee. These are stroopwafels. These are little Dutch treats. They're like cookies that we brought in from Holland. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
It's tough to maybe see them on the screen here. But we were looking for treats to go with the coffee. So I said, we need to get some cookies or something. So we've got other things that we're starting to also have. So the first way is love to have your listeners as customers. The other thing is we're very intentional. We talked about at the supply chain, working with farmers and farms, but we're very intentional about our entire value chain, right? I want to work with people that think like we do. So 100%. As we said at the beginning of the call, maybe someone has a logistics company. Maybe someone has another product that we can put in our distribution. I have a very large fulfillment center in Memphis, Tennessee. I've got roasteries all over the world. So maybe there are collaborations and things. So as we're building out all this infrastructure, this piping, I want to push more things through it with people that are also, businesses that are also have a social mission so that we can grow and build this together, right?
100%. Thank you so much, Robert. And with that note, thank you so much. These have been very valuable. This is a topic that I really love, sustainability and being an entrepreneur. So in my girlfriend development movement with Mary Diamond, they call it global conscious entrepreneur, because we can do business and do good at the same time. And this is, in my opinion, a different way that we can actually bring some fairness and equality to the marketplace. So thank you so much. And for all of you following us, see you in our next episode of Entrepreneurs Are Leaders, how a brave entrepreneur like Robert break that wall and make a business that make us our life, the world, a better place. Bye for now.
Follow us for more on charismatic speaking, leadership, exponential business growth, branding, marketing, strategies designed to help you monetize your knowledge, find true happiness, and manifest your goals and dreams.